beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin'minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendu. It's also a brand new month, the month of June. The year is almost halfway done. But I guess most importantly, the past week has seen a lot of Nigerians paying attention to the government as the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, sort of marked his second year in office, reflecting on his achievements and also looking forward to what the country holds or what governance holds for Nigerians in the years to come. But a lot of Nigerians are worried because it looks like politicking is already in full gear. We've spent a better part of this year talking about, politicians defecting and whether the opposition is going to band together and form a new party. We're 2 whole years away. Many people are not sure how much more governance we're going to see in the years ahead or in the months ahead. But we're going to be talking today about, the president's last 2 years, grading Tinubu's cabinet, amongst other things. It's no gainsaying the fact that this president has the largest cabinet in Nigeria's history, and they came in to power with a lot of promises and expectations. There was a lot of talk about, him having been a governor in the largest states in the country, the largest economy in the country, and all the achievements he made in Lagos and how he was going to translate that to the national space. A lot of questions are left unanswered, and we're going to try and see if we can make a headway with that today. I'm joined here now by Chiamaka Dike, who's senior editor at GST, and Adedotun Ajulo, a lawyer and public affairs analyst. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Very welcome. So let's reflect a bit, because Mr. President was everywhere between Lagos and Abuja in the last week, commissioning and making all the speeches. And, we hear there's a documentary that's supposed to be out as well with the ministers and members of his cabinet speaking on the achievements of the last 2 years. You don't seem very impressed. We're going to get to your reports, or the GST reports later on the show. But just how have you felt about the last 2 years in general?
So I think the last 2 years has been a case of frustration. If I was going to use one word to just paint these last 2 years, it's been a thing of, the president coming in 2023, making grand promises to the people of floating the naira, of removing fuel subsidy, which, back then were very debatable topics, and some people were also for the motion. But then he did that, and he did that without any consideration of the after effects or the consequences this would have on people. And so you're seeing it spiral back into unheard of records of inflation, right? Unheard of records of, rising cost of living and so on and so forth. So honestly, it's been frustrating. Yeah. That's how I would say the last 2 years has been.
That's a fair point, right? Because the counter argument the government always uses is, first of all, these things had to go.
Yeah.
But they also tell you that all 3 major candidates in the last election promised to remove fuel subsidy. So this was not necessarily unique to Mr. President. But like she said, the after effects of this and what this has meant for Nigerians, we're seeing more people fall into below the poverty line. Unemployment is continuing to be a problem. And these are not necessarily an issue of statistics. We all walk the streets and we see what's happening. Adedotun, what's your take?
For me, like you said, a whole lot of frustration. However, I'm being careful to say, is there any way we will have had it better? When you look at the situation, and in the last preceding government, I doubt if there's any other way we can have it done as we have it, other than the way we're having it now. For me, I think Nigeria is just coming to live in its reality for the very first time in the last 2 or 3 dispensations. Just last week, from a single individual, a property, about 750 duplexes, were said to have been recovered from an individual in Nigeria. So how best do you think we will have gotten, taken up from that point? So a lot of frustration, like Ebuka said, going through the streets is an eyesore for everybody. But of a truth, I think we're only living in our reality. The subsidy had to go. The subsidy had to go. The naira, we can't continue to suppress whatever it is for the dollar and the rest of it. So floating the naira, I think for me, it was that we had no other alternative. So one can only, the pain in all of this for me is that unfortunately, we are not having opposition currently in the country. taking up the government to say, okay, let's see the way we shall make things better and get things easier for Nigerians. So we are living in a reality as far as I'm concerned. Yes, we are frustrated, but I can tell you that it's a frustration that if it didn't happen today, it's going to happen some 10 years' time. Or when our own children are getting up to our age and the rest of it. So we are living in a reality, regardless of the frustration.
Chiamaka, is that a fair way to look at it?
Okay, thank you for asking that, because I was going to say something to just buttress that. I think Nigerians, we've kind of already gotten used to, and it's sad to say this, but we've gotten used to the idea of bad governance, right? We have gotten used to the idea of, choosing between the lesser devil when it comes to elections. But I do think that even though Nigerians were not expecting miracles to happen, but they were not expecting things to be this bad. Like this bad. I mean, there was Buhari, there was Goodluck Jonathan, there were all these presidents that came before Tinubu, but people were not, at least they thought there would be a semblance of maintenance of the status quo. But in Tinubu's time, we're getting to see like record levels. Like, I'm not sure you're understanding when somebody says that the inflation in Nigeria, or how it was, it's not been like this in a generation. Right? And that's not something we said of previous presidents. So the fact that, yes, we are expecting this, I mean,
If I'm allowed to come in, what was the previous government, what were they offering?
I mean...
I just cited an instance. What were they offering? You see, we shouldn't be going back and forth on the... You see,
just to cut you in there. Sorry to cut you in, because I want us to have a clear picture of everything. Because I hear this previous government conversation a lot from the present administration. And it's frustrating for a lot of Nigerians, because Nigerians don't vote individuals, who vote parties. The same party handed over to this party. If you're going to go back to the previous party before that, who have their many flaws, but we also have to stand on the fact that that government, the government of President Jonathan Ibe, did want to remove this subsidy at a time when it might have been more convenient, and this president was one of the biggest opponents to that. So it's very baffling for a lot of Nigerians to see you oppose this at a time when it could have been easier to manage. You come in now, you remove it at a time when it's harder to manage, and you don't give any palliatives. Isn't that a fair thing for Nigerians to complain about?
Yes, it's a fair thing for Nigerians to complain about. Like I've said, you see, she took it off from the point where the frustration is there.
So it's an indictment of the party.
The frustration is there, no doubt. But where I'm looking at it from is the fact that, you see, you've made mention, it was a lot easier when this came up in the times of Jonathan. And the current dispensation, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was one of the, in fact, was the major force against subsidy. Who told you that in some 10, 20 years' time, today won't be the better time for us to remove the subsidy? In as much as our reality currently is pain and nothing other than pain, I won't even say poverty. People are going through a lot. People cannot even afford to treat themselves for basic malaria that you just go walk into the chemist and get, and the rest of it. But the truth of the matter is, like I've said, the reality is that we can't continue. Yes, we may not be talking, like you mentioned, we'll be talking about the palliative. That enough is not done to get Nigerians prepared for what we are going through. But come to think of it, how do you even think that can be achieved? In a country where you don't even have database. There's no database. You see, it's very easy for us in Lagos, in Abuja, and Port Harcourt to speak. But for those of us that goes into interior villages, Nigeria is large. There are certain persons who don't even have this access to information like you and I are getting. So there's no even, see, trying to get this thing fixed takes a whole lot.
Okay.
And I must tell you that I was believing so much that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was going to start with all of this, but I can't even find the template, if I must be sincere. And that's my worries.
We need to move on, because, I mean, I have a lot to respond to that, because if you seek to be president, you know the country, and he's been a politician for decades. So I don't think a lot of Nigerians buy the excuse of the country is too large.
No,
he knew what
I didn't say the country is too large.
You literally said
yes.
But let's move on to
alternatives.
Let's move on to, because you, GST, which is the organization you represent, put out a rating for the ministers currently in government. And I can't see anybody's that. I think the highest score here is 6. I'm guessing out of 10,
yes,
which is the Minister of the Interior. Even though you pushed back on the fact that he's not doing enough for the prison system, you know, the Minister of Finance gets a 4 for the fact that his economic policies have not necessarily reflected. I want to tackle you on the one that I found very, very interesting, which is the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi. Whom if I quote it says, Minister Umahi is so terrible that he doesn't even deserve to be rated at all. And a lot of Nigerians might find that baffling, because infrastructure is the one thing I think this government has touted themselves on. Especially even the last week, we saw the commissioning of, at least the part commissioning of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road. He's commissioning roads across the country. Isn't that his job? You don't think that's enough?
Okay. You know, for someone that touts a lot about infrastructure, it's strange to say that as of 2024, if you check the Bureau of Public Procurement, you'll find that Umahi has only achieved up to 5% of his road projects. As of 2024, like he has only achieved up to 5%. Not 10, not 15, not 20, but 5%. And that's saying something, right? There's also like other roads too that, you know, they've needed attention for a long time. You have the Kano-Kaduna road, the Enugu-Onitsha road, the Niger Delta Expressway. You have these specific highways, right? And again, it just feels like these are like, you know, just not getting enough attention, the attention that they deserve. So it's a thing where you have him saying all of that. And I mean, let's not even forget Landmark, right? The issue that happened with Landmark last year, you know, he just decided to bulldoze a whole beach, take away people's livelihoods, take away even Paul's livelihood. And you did all of this, but you did not consider a pre-assessment survey, right? I think it's an ESIA. I think that's the acronym. But you did not consider that before you did that, and you call yourself a Minister of Works, right? They
say the benefits of this road will far outweigh whatever tourism potential has been lost by that one thing. You don't think that's...
I mean, even though you want to put it like that, but the fact is that you did more harm than good in this moment, in this present time. And it's a thing of saying that you could have done things way better. And even like the major roads that need attention, right? The Kano-Kaduna, Enugu-Onitsha and Co. You have not yet put firm hands or a firm foot down to say that, okay, you are going to renovate these roads, right? And it's a problem. It's a problem to me, and it's a problem for everybody that worked on this research project that we did for GIST, because it's a thing of saying, okay, what are the priorities? What are we going to, like, how are you basing your projects, right? Take, for instance, I'm going to mention another person, Wike, which has been another subject of...
yeah, I noticed you rated him with 3.
Yes, yes, it is another subject of conversation here. You know, Wike, you know, people have said he renovated roads, he's done some, you know, good renovation projects for Abuja, but you still find dilapidated schools in Abuja. You still find communities in Abuja that do not even have clean water, and you call yourself the Minister of the FCT. This is Nigeria's capital, and you call yourself the Minister of the FCT, but Abuja communities, some of them do not have water, clean water, do not have, what is it called? Do not have all these amenities, right? Let's not forget the International Conference Center that he's spending 39 billion naira to renovate. And when you look at that 39 billion naira, if you check the budget allocation for the Northeast for road projects, that's twice or over twice that amount that you're using on one building. Okay. So this. I mean, what are your priorities?
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to other ministers, but your take on that. These are 2 ministers who are probably the most visible, and she's rated them so poorly.
Well, yeah. I don't know how you came about your rating and the rest of it, but I would have loved if, to be privileged to read, maybe after now to read. For me, talking about Umahi, the Minister of Works and the rest of it, you are looking at it from the project. I perceive it's been looked at from the projects being accomplished as we speak. But it's far beyond that. I'm aware the popular Ibadan-Ife Expressway is being awarded. And let's not forget, we are talking about just 2 years. I'm not holding brief for the government. I have my issues basically around the ministers and the rest of it. Let's not forget, we are just talking about 2 years into the government. So a lot of these roads, I'm aware, they have been awarded. Like the one from my place in Ondo State, down to Ondo State, down to Ore. I know it's undergoing construction. So for me, I don't think that rating is fair for Umahi. I was going to say the rating was not equally fair for Wike, but you've mentioned some basic things, which I think that those are quite objective enough. Yeah. Talking about dilapidated schools, talking about basic, when you are talking about Abuja, we should not just be looking at FCT. So for me, at that point, I agreed to a reasonable extent with you.
But not on Umahi. But you said in just 2 years.
Yes.
This, like I said at the start of this show,
we
we probably have a year, maybe, before governance shuts down. We know how this country works. And there's no guarantee, even if, let's speak hypothetically, you see, that he's going to be back for another 4 years. So it's enough to rate him in 2 years.
You know, we are rating, and we are saying, we are talking about construction, infrastructure, in terms of a road, talking about Umahi.
Yes.
And I'm saying, I don't know how they came about that rating.
Okay.
What we are saying is this: a lot of these roads are awarded.
Okay. Let's leave the awarded.
And completion are two
different things.
Saying.
Exactly.
For completion, you know what it takes to fix a road. If you remember when Lagos Ibadan Expressway was under construction, it took about 6-7 years for this road to be completed.
But some of those roads do not need 6 or 7 years.
That's what I'm saying.
Some of those roads do not even need a year.
But you wouldn't expect...
So it's easy to award, but it's not easy to complete. And this has been the issue of Nigerian ministers for a very long time, particularly ministers of works. It's a thing of awarding and not completing their project.
I don't think it would be fair that we should be looking at it that, okay, you are expecting a 100-kilometer road to be completed. You know, the associable issues.
There's so much to talk about. So, let's move on to Minister of Power, which you gave a 1.
Yeah.
A 1 out of 10. No achievements, lies about power supply in Nigeria. Within a year, the national grid has collapsed multiple times. Tariffs have gone up, and there's even talks about tariffs increasing, even on top of what we have now. I think most Nigerians would agree with that assessment. Let me start with you.
Well, the only issue I have with the current, it's not even about the minister.
Yeah.
It's the government, this administration, dispensation of Tinubu. You see, for me, I think it's a fair deal when it comes to power, like as it is right now. Maybe from where I'm coming from, talking about my office, talking about my home, I observe that the power supply thing improved. However, my issue with the minister, my issue with Ministry of Power is the fact that coming about this Band-Aid and the rest of it, I've always heard the argument that you see that policy in itself is discriminatory. And I think I was aware at some point some NGO took the government to court, whereby the same Nigeria, you feel like classify some persons as Band A, Band B, Band C.
It might have even been bearable if with the Band A you even got the power. I am a Band A customer. I don't even get that much power.
I am one to. My office in Marina, I am one to. And I'm one to. And considerably, I must say that we have power. But you need to know how much I pay. Sometimes I pay as much as, for running an office, a law firm, I pay as much as 300,000 naira for power supply in a month. So that in itself is even discriminatory. The fact that my grandmother in the village access power more than her, we are all Nigerians.
So she's
and you aren't even, would you say that you are getting like the reasonable amount of power in a day?
Well, like I said, for me, for the said Band-Aid, I think I'm getting reasonably.
Reasonably.
You get 18 hours of power.
Well, for my office, I get.
Because I don't get anywhere close to that. That's what Band-Aid
for my office.
But so she's called him a 1. Do you think that's a good score?
Well, for the Ministry of Power, it's a good score.
It's funny. Okay.
It's a good score. Like I said, you see, the whole idea of Band-A has even defeated. Well, it's counterproductive for whatever it is that they think they want to. So for me, the whole idea of some people will have access to power 18 hours, while some, because they are in Band C, they will have access to power for about an hour. That in itself, for me, is rating him 1.
And let's not forget the people that were on band C, but they switched them to band A.
To band A and all of that. So
two other very critical sectors I want to touch on before we go, because this government and the APC's policy as a whole, right from 2015, has been about agriculture and how they want to, kick things up and, fix unemployment with that. Your report says he should be known as the Minister of Hunger. That's Abubakar Kyari. So you didn't even give him a rating at all. So I guess that's a 0.
No, there's a rating there.
Okay, I don't seem to have a rating here.
Okay.
We'll get your rating, but defense as well is a big one because we've seen what's happening with insecurity. Unfortunately, we have lost a number of our service personnel to bandits and terrorists. But the issue of insecurity is still a huge conversation, whether it's in the Middle Belt, whether it's in the Southeast even, or the Southwest, or the Northeast still. So it makes you wonder, these two sectors, do you see any deliberate policy to move things?
Okay, you said Minister of Defense and Minister of Agriculture. So for defense, it's a
you gave him a 4 over 10.
It's a tough one because there was the deal with the Niger Delta,
with Niger
State,
Republic.
Niger Republic, that I can agree with. But then there's this resurgence of Boko Haram, which I think they are not taken seriously enough. I mean, they have struck Borno, especially Maiduguri. They've struck Maiduguri very, very hard in like the last couple of weeks. You have Benue State that, people are not even so sure about what's going on there because, conflicting stories and all of that. Plateau is also another one too. So it's a thing where I personally feel like there's so much action that could be done, but they are not taking as much. Agriculture, we can definitely see what's going on with food prices and the food items and all of that. And it's a thing where we are asking them, okay, alongside the Minister of Finance, I assume, how exactly are you going to make sure that these things are at a stable price, right? That the inflation that is caused by supply, right, is being, taken care of. And I don't think we are seeing any of that recently.
What do you rate the Minister of Agric?
Well, I think this is the only time we will come to agree more perfectly on both ends. And you see, what I even want to point out, which I want to avert Rubbin'minds to, do you even get to know these ministers? You get to even forget some of the ministry. It was only as we were talking that it occurs to me that we have a ministry called Ministry of Blue Economy.
There's even a Minister of Livestock.
So, you see, if I have my one-on-one with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu today, what I would put before him is the cabinet. I think
we need to wrap up.
Yes.
We need to wrap up.
Yes.
Sorry, because he did reshuffle the cabinet in August.
Yes.
But it doesn't seem like a lot was pumped into it. Let's quickly go through a few of the names. Wale Edu, Minister of Finance, what do you rate?
I think I would rate him a 4. Because
What about you?
Wale Edu, well, we should rate him 6-7. Yes. We should rate him
Really?
6-7.
Minister of Health, Mohammed Ali Pate.
6.
3.
3?
Yes.
Why?
Interesting. I can
Why
see that.
3?
He has a lot of good PR, but I guess a lot of Nigerians are not feeling it yet. Maybe it's one of those cases with the works as well, where there's plans, but they haven't come into effect. Yes, on Wike, you said 3.
3.
Yes, on Wike should be 6. Should be 6 from
Tunji Alausa, Minister of Education. This jam thing and a lot of primary education is not, I don't know.
No,
from a 4 to 6.
No, when you look at this issue of net fund and all of that,
Yes.
the technical schools and
so something is happening.
And if something is happening in that ministry.
Minister of Interior,
6.
6.
No, I love the analysis from Minister of Interior.
Yeah.
You see, it's all about passport and nothing else.
But there's a lot more that's...
Beyond that,
the biometric entry that you do
Nigeria
for
Correctional
airports.
Service and the rest of it. So it's as if that passport, being that of a airlight, is just where it's been concentrated and the rest of it. So,
Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo.
yes, he should get his 7. He should have his car.
6.
Close enough. Dede Alake, Minister of Solid Minerals.
I don't know.
I mean, you resumed mining in Zamfara, so I guess
but there's
you can
also
get
a lot of talk about illegal mining still being flourished.
Yes, most of these insecurity issues that you see in Benue and the rest of
are thriving because of that.
4.
So you're giving them money.
3.
A 3.
Okay, fine.
Anatu Musawa, Minister of Arts, Culture and the Creative Economy.
I don't know. I can't even remember he's a minister.
Oh, wow.
She's pretty visible.
Yes,
Well,
she
I don't know if
is.
it reflects, but she's pretty
Maybe I've
visible.
been very, what is it called? Honestly.
No, if you're in the arts and culture space, you'll be seeing, yeah.
No,
But there's so much more that needs to be done.
At the time in this country, you know, at the beck and call, you can talk about
And
the
it's an easy ministry
Minister
to
of
shine.
Interior. You know,
Let's get two more. Bosun Tijani, Minister of Communications.
2.
Wow.
5.
Oh, you went higher this time. Why?
Yeah, I think I'll do 5. Just because, I mean, all of them, in our opinion, is very, you know, they've not performed to the best of their ability. But Tijani, at least you can say that he's still doing something regardless, because he has he's maintained partnerships with Fiber One, Starlink,
But it's not enough for him.
you know,
Finally.
Okay, what about the 90,000 kilometer fiber optic broadband that he wants to do?
All right, let's
how many Nigerians is this getting to? It's getting to lay you.
Let's do a final Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tugar. I don't know.
I have to remind myself of that name.
I'm on a 3 with him.
I have to remind myself.
I just saw a conversation with the former Minister of Transport.
For about 2 years,
Amechi,
ambassadors have been recalled.
Yes, we don't even have ambassadors. Well, we need to go.
What
Thank you very
about
much. The conversation continues. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Don't just stand there teasing